Well, howdy, friends and Floorhead. Long time no see. We got just to play yesterday. We're back for episode 3 of Echoes of Blood. We're playing using the Shiver and Shiver Gothic RPG by Parable Games. They are the perfect tools for exploring our Victorian Gothic tale. If you missed the first 2 episodes, highly recommend you pause this right now and go back and check them out. But if you are caught up, let's go over where we are and how we got here. It's October 31st, 1888 in England. Our 4 characters are attending a getaway at the country estate of Lord and Lady Randolph Churchill in Hampshire by New Forest. The shadows of the Whitechapel murders loom over London and extend to the countryside. Victorian London's elite are all here at this party. Many seem to have secrets. Harry, the Slayer, finds Mr. Westbrook, the new head footman, suspect. Why was he hired? And why did Lord Churchill replace his entire household staff? And why do they look so sickly? Lady Rosalind, the immortal, is perplexed by a smell emanating from Westbrook. When she confronted him, he passed out. All she knows is that the masking of his scent is the work of something else in the estate. Elizabeth, the weird spiritualist, knows power was released in this house by the breaking of a locket that belonged to the first Whitechapel murder victim. Can the seer use her sight to identify what has been freed? We ended the last episode with Dr. Charlotte, the mad genius, attending to Susanna, George Lusk's wife. She collapsed in the ballroom and was brought up to the Lusk guest room. Charlotte's examination of her revealed nothing odd except for a newly grayed streak of hair on her head. When the good doctor began exploring, quote unquote, the Lusk's belongings, something lifted the sleeping Susanna above her bed. She rotated upside down, her wrists broke, and then she was thrown like a rag doll across the bedroom. We can find out what is next when we return from the opening titles.
Attention, brave viewers. This video features adults immersed in a spine-chilling horror RPG experience. The content likely includes supernatural elements, horror-related events, and potentially scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy.
Dr. Charlotte, you screamed. You're standing in the bedroom right now. At the foot of the door is Susanna's body. Her wrists are broken at unnatural right angles. There's commotion outside. They've heard your calls.
Woo! I'm gonna walk over to her body and move it from the door and then check her pulse.
She has a pulse, but she is cold.
Okay. I am going to call for the footmen to hurry up and help.
Should we come in? You hear from
Ye-
behind the door.
Yes.
So the door flies open, and there's 3 footmen there. Lusk is not there. They come in. Oh my goodness! Did she? Oh, did she fall? What let's get her to the bed. Let's get her to the bed. And they're trying to move her up to the bed. One of them comes up to you and goes, "My lady, are you okay? Is there anything I can get for you? What happened?"
Things beyond mortal comprehension. Lay her on the bed gently.
So
She's gonna
go ahead.
gonna rush over to her
Mhm.
and tend to her wrist.
Yeah, no skin was broken. They just and I said her wrists were broken. It's actually the bone just below the wrist is broken, as if it is a wrist in right angles on both hands. You can feel that immediately as you start to touch, and you can feel where the break is. There's no discoloration in the hands, so it looks like blood is flowing. We're good there. Let's cut to the ballroom. Lusk bursts into the ballroom, and I think he goes for you, Lady Rosalind, as you and Harry are re-entering the ballroom after dealing with Westbrook. And he comes up, he goes, Lady Rosalind, my wife, something's happened with my wife. The good doctor's upstairs. She called for you that you should come.
Lead the way, please. I'm going to quickly scan the room looking for Elizabetha.
Mm-hmm.
Can you find
and
her?
just see if I can find her. The lady over there, I need you to retrieve her and have her follow us, okay?
Yes, of course. And Randolph comes over to you, Harry, as the commotion starts and you start to leave. He goes, Harry, what's going on?
I'm not entirely sure, sir. I believe Mrs. Lusk seemed to have fainted, and apparently she's somewhat the worse for wear. Dr. Charlotte has asked us to join her to perhaps provide some assistance. I don't think it's anything that need trouble you or your guests, sir.
Very good. I'm going to have Stevens come up.
All right, sir. That's as you wish.
So you guys head up, the three of you. You get to the top at the hallway, and there's a bit of a crowd, a mixture of maids and footmen. They're kind of around the door. As you kind of peer in, you can see Dr. Charlotte over Susanna on the bed, and everybody's kind of shuffling and trying to. They look like they're trying to be busy, but they don't know what the hell to do.
I'm more than willing to use my size to make an opening for us to get through. Excuse me, pardon me, just kind of not pausing for people and just moving them gently out of the way so we can get in.
And you have no resistance.
As I'm following
Doctor, what's
Harry,
happening?
I'm going to snap at the servants. Back to your duties.
Yes, my lady. They kind of turn their heads down and their gazes down as they look embarrassed as they kind of scatter.
At least they cleared out. Let's go.
All right. Doctor, what can we do? You've gotten very quiet all of a sudden.
Oh no.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
There we
go. That is the confusing part. I am unsure, and that is not a state of being I'm used to.
You're always sure.
She levitated, wrist just below the wrist broke, and then slammed into the door. She's been showing signs of lightly aging. So, yes, that is the extent of what I know what's happening here right now.
I'll guard the door and just go over and stand by the door to dissuade any peepers in while they figure out what's going on.
When you just step right outside the door, Harry, Stevens is almost right on top of you as he's coming down the hallway. He goes, "Good God, Harry, what is going on?"
I don't entirely know, sir. There seems to be something has befallen Ms. Lusk. She fainted and seems to have sustained some other injuries along the way. Nothing life-threatening so far as we can tell, but the doctor's tending to her now.
So Stevens kind of peers his head around you to look inside.
Yeah, I will let him.
And he goes, Harry, come with me for just a moment.
Okay, and I will, kind of glance back in the room one time and then follow him.
And he steps far enough away from the door that he can talk without anybody in the room hearing him. And there's nobody in the hallway. Harry, how well do you know this doctor? She was the only one in the room with her.
I met her this evening, but she seems trustworthy. I have no reason to doubt her, but I'm not getting too far away, if that's what you mean.
It's unfortunately It puts us in a bit of an uncomfortable position. She's obviously been abused, and there was only 2 people in that room, and only one of them has their wrist broken.
Well, if you think, because Dr. Charlotte is not a particularly tall woman, is she?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I don't think so.
So I kind of said, well, I don't believe that Dr. Charlotte would be capable of manhandling Mrs. Lusk in such a way as to cause that damage.
Unfortunately, I think once the bridge is repaired and we have contact and we can come out, I'm sure there's going to be an investigation, and I think we need to be prepared for that. And unfortunately, I'm not quite sure how Lord Churchill is going to deal with the doctor, seeing that she right now appears to be quite dangerous.
Well, I'll find out what's going on, sir.
Stay close to her for me.
I will. And I will head back to the room and probably go inside and shut the door.
Yeah, and Stevens doesn't come with you, and nor does he try to.
Okay.
So you shut the door. It is just the 4+1.
Is
No,
Lusk in there with us?
no,
Okay. He stayed outside.
he hasn't come back upstairs yet.
Oh, okay. Seeing it's just the 4 of us, I think I'm going to, I'll walk towards the bed, look at Charlotte, and say, in a bit of a mixed accent, it's slightly southeastern European, but there's something Cockney London in it as well. It's a bit mixed up, I'll say. She levitated?
Yes, she levitated. And I'll use my hand motions above the bed, head side down, wrists were broken, and then the force threw her into the door.
Sounds poltergeist. And I'll sit on the bed, reach out one hand towards
It was Susanna.
She's still sleeping, the unconscious.
I'll
reach out one hand, and my other hand dips into a pocket in my voluminous black cloak, and it pulls out an orb. It's kind of silvery, metallic, just slightly bigger than an apple. And I'll look at Charlotte and say, should I try and see what I can see?
Absolutely.
Harry and Lady Rosalind, I don't know if you are aware of this. Obviously, Dr. Charlotte and Elizabeth have a history, but
Harry's sort of waiting to see what happens. Actually, he will say, Doctor, not to put too fine a point on it, but as the only one who was in the room when this happened, I'm afraid more than a few people are going to view you as a likely suspect in what's going on here.
Oh, absolutely.
If you have anything that would help prove your innocence, I'd start thinking about it.
Unless you did it. Nobody would blame you.
Charlotte wouldn't do anything like this.
nobody will blame you. What did Susanna do?
It was a really boring party. I just give her a little side smirk because she knows that I'm being a smartass.
Well, I certainly do not have the upper body strength.
Yeah,
And-
Susanna's bigger than you, Dr. Charlotte. So that she may weigh about the same or a little bit more than you, but it would be pretty impressive if you could have thrown her against the wall and broke her arms. So, Elizabeth, what are we doing?
I've made contact with one hand, taken out my crystal ball with the other, and I'm going to try and concentrate and use my powers to detect whether there are any threats. Because with my crystal ball, I can, once per doom clock, I can use the power of the crystal ball to divine threats.
All right, so let's take a quick look at that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's look.
That's
at her
really
items.
cool.
All right, so a sphere of smooth crystal that swirls with a mist of mystery, holding the secrets of the future ability. deadly divination. This is once per doom quarter, so you can be able to do it. Hopefully, you don't get a third
Yeah.
time or fourth chance to do it. But once per doom quarter, you have this ability. You may use the power of the crystal ball to divine threats. Okay. You also get spectral sight. Excellent. So I am just going to need a strange roll. Looks like you have 1 luck.
Yeah, and I'm using that luck. So strange. And you'll see that this one goes entirely wrong.
You got this.
Well, I got one.
Oh,
got
no,
2
that's
luck,
right.
so I'll trade those for a strange success. But...
Yeah, you got 2 luck, so that's going to give you a success. Start me off. What is it? What do we? If we're watching, Elizabeth, what are we seeing?
You see this gray metallic ball in her hand start to kind of spark, and you can see that her hair starts to kind of stand on end, and I imagine that Dr. Charlotte is also quite close by, and your hair starts to get even more frizzy than it usually is. And there's perhaps I'm assuming it's gas lights in the room.
Mm-hmm.
They start to flicker, and the orb, which was metallic and opaque, starts to go see-through and seems empty. And I have one hand on the body of Suzanne, and the other hand I'm just staring into the ball with no awareness of anything else. It's just, you can see actually the ball reflects into my eyes, and like if any of the others are looking at my eyes, it seems as if my eyes have now become these gray metallic balls themselves.
Your vision darkens, almost like you've closed your eyes. You feel a bit of a chill, but it's not like you're like, ooh, chill. It stays. It doesn't pass. You can smell smog. Slowly you begin to see, but it's really blurry. You're seeing far down gas lamps, and they're reflecting on cobblestone. You feel out of breath, and you feel frenetic. You're turning. You're walking swiftly, and you turn. You think to your right. You're not sure, and there's a presence there, a shadow, shoulders, a hat, and then you feel a pain in the back of your head, and you fall, and you hit cobblestone. You're laying there, the wet, cold stone against your cheek. You can feel it. And unlike before, where it felt like you closed your eyes, you close your eyes. And you see the hallway outside the door. And you're not particularly tall, so this viewpoint is different for you because you're above. Like you are tall. You head down the hallway, and you see the grand staircase that you came up on your way here. And Lusk is coming up the staircase. Behind him are some footmen. You see Stevens at the base of the stairs. And you start to go down the steps, but you're not going up and down on each step. You're almost gliding. And in your chest, you feel something push out, and it knocks Lusk. Lusk goes tumbling down the stairs to the first landing. As the bedroom starts to come back into focus, you just hear a whisper inside your head. And it's a woman's voice, a young woman's voice. And it's a whisper. She says, like it's your thoughts. Justice. You're back looking on the bed.
I take my hand off Susanna's body, put the orb, disappears back into a pocket in the robe, and I'm blinking. I look at the others, and I say, "I'm afraid Mr. Lusk may have taken a fall, and somebody seems to be out for retribution."
Lady Rosalind, you can hear a commotion on the other side of the door. It's distant, maybe on the first floor. Harry and Dr. Charlotte and Elisabetta do not hear this.
I'm going to.
So I'm going to...
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to step out and go towards the noise, just kind of quietly closing the door back behind me. Trying my dogs.
Oh, you're fine. So you close the door, you're back in the hallway, and immediately there's the rail that looks out over the first floor and the grand staircase. And you can see Lusk is there, and it looks like Stevens has kind of set Lusk up onto his lap. He's on his knees, and he's kind of hoisted Lusk up. Lusk is rubbing the back of his head, and you can hear Stevens going, "Mr. Lusk, are you okay, sir? You've taken a stumble, and can you open your eyes, look at me, and he's just doing some very rudimentary, like, "Are you okay? Get me some cold, give me some cold towels," he says to the footmen, who are kind of, again, scrambling, trying to look like they know what they're doing.
I step back into the room, close the door behind me again, and turn to Harry and go, "Holy shit, she's the real deal."
I've kind of slunk off the bed to a chair nearby, and just pulled my coat around me because I'm still cold.
Well,
We think it's tied to that locket then.
more than likely, yes.
Well, we need to find where Westbrook put it, because it wasn't on him a few minutes ago.
Something no longer of this world. Something is, I don't know, it's seeking justice. And then I look at Suzanne, but how is this just?
It's the dead. They have their own warped sense of right and wrong.
That is true.
So, if what Mrs. Cowdery was saying earlier is true, that locket belonged to, what was it, the Nichols woman, the one who that the Ripper got.
Perhaps she...
Well, why would she be after the Lusks?
Well, perhaps she's, as Charlotte said, the dead need not be rational. That poor woman was horribly murdered, and could just be enough that we are alive, and that she wants justice, and that we're here sipping wine and eating canapes, and canapé comes from a different pocket. And I don't know. Perhaps it's like Miss Cowdery said. We should be looking for the Ripper instead of just here.
Well, unless he is here with us now.
It was a woman. No, I got the
Ah,
my impression was a woman, and I.
No, you didn't. You couldn't tell. No,
Okay.
you could tell that you were seeing through the eyes of a woman.
Okay.
But the shadow that appeared in the alleyway was genderless, though it did have a hat typically a man would wear.
I meant it was a woman that I was, and I.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
got a.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have seen her death,
oh.
but then something went out. I don't know. She went out to the corridor and she pushed Lusk down the stairs. In any case, when I look around, I think it's left Suzanne for now. I think we're alone here.
Yes, I am still in the unfortunate position of having to lie my way out of this, because how many people is going to believe that she levitated and got thrown up against the door?
Well, why not? It's Halloween. And stranger things have happened.
Well, my concern is that if Lusk and his wife were the first targets as people who should be looking for the Ripper or not, I feel like Aberline may be next. I wonder if I should go back to the ballroom and keep an eye on him. And not hearing any objections.
One thing, Sir Harry. I find it quite interesting that you're taking this all in stride.
I've come across a number of weird things in my time, and there are more than a few of them here tonight, he says, looking pointedly at Lady Rosalind.
I'll just grin back at you.
So, it's not the strangest thing I've had happen to me, but I'm not fond of it.
Well, that is exciting news.
So we tend to Suzanne. I look towards the corridor. I believe Mr. Lusk is on his way. And see whether we can find this presence.
Then shall we tell Mr. Lusk the truth?
I mean, we could certainly try and see whether his reaction would be. We can always go, oh, haha, Halloween, if not.
Or, well, you examined her. Who's to say that she broke her wrists when she fell?
Or she even woke up, broke her wrist, and tossed herself against the door.
Well, nobody saw her tossed against the door. And my accent is getting more Cockney London as we're progressing. So the footmen only saw her on the ground, so perhaps she had a fit.
Tried to break her way out of the room.
Yes, I agree.
As the four of you are kind of scheming, putting together the story, a pretty authoritative voice booms from the doorway, and you turn and you see Mr. Lusk. His hat is now gone. He's just his head. He's got what looks to be like a towel on the back of his head. You can see some red has bled into the towel itself, and he points right at you, Dr. Charlotte, and says, "Get that woman away from my wife."
Well, let's not be too hasty, Mr. Lusk. I will step between Dr. Charlotte and Mr. Lusk.
I want all of you out of here.
Of course.
And I don't want that woman anywhere near me or my wife.
I'm afraid that I'm very sorry for the circumstances that have befallen you tonight, Mr. Lusk. I will make sure that we are all out of this room immediately, and I'll be taking my associates with me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Lusk.
I slip out.
Yep, I head out.
I leave out.
So as soon as the four of you leave, Stevens, Lusk, and a couple footmen, you hear the door slam to the bedroom where Susanna is. You're in the hallway. There's a lot of commotion downstairs. You can still hear the music in the ballroom.
Mm-hmm. I'm heading straight back for the ballroom. Like I say, I'm concerned about, Aberline.
I'll also head back to the ballroom, and I'll link arms with Elizabetha and Lady Hargrave. Well, let us enjoy the rest of the party.
If we must. But the second Harry turns around, I'm going to pop that bead of blood in my mouth.
So we
And I
have
have
an
a thing.
ability. Yeah, let's read that off to everybody real quick.
Yes, well, we kind of talked about it yesterday. It's my experience palette. You get a +1 talent die when making checks to follow a scent or identify a smell. But the second part of that is you can also identify any enemy or the rough characteristics of a person from the taste of their blood.
Give me a strange roll and add a talent die to it.
That's strange roll. Okay.
I hope I didn't break the dice.
Here we go.
Well,
I don't think you added the talent die. Did you add a skill die instead?
Maybe, yes.
What's your strange?
3.
Yeah, so you added it. So let's do that again. So go down to just 3 skill die and add a talent die. That's the 8-sided die that gives you all kinds of
My apologies.
multiple potential successes.
all right. Okay.
There we
Okay,
go.
Oh,
okay.
There we go. Let's talk about what you taste. You have 1 success. You also picked up a luck if you need to refill your banked luck. It's a mixture of flavors. There's a hint of mortal. There's also a hint of vampire. But don't know how much vampire you've tasted in your time. But with your experienced palate, this is old vampire. Really old. And it any vampire you've contacted before is there somehow in that flavor. There's even a soupçon of your blood. In that as well. Now, for the first part of that ability, this is tied to what you smelled from Westbrook, which is no surprise. And for the first time, you can tell the source is in the estate. It is close. The last thing I'll tell you, and this is not something that I would imagine Lady Rosalind is used to, it scares the shit out of you. I need a fear check. So you're roll strange for me.
Okay.
If you've got any luck, I recommend you use it.
I do have a...
So you'll add 1 skill die. So make sure you remove that talent die.
Yes. Ugh.
So I'm going to add to the doom clock. So the doom clock can tick several different ways. One is on a failed check rolling strange. We could also get it by failing a fear check. So we're going to tick 4 ticks on the doom clock. And then I need to quickly I need you to go open up your character sheet, and I need you to change your fear status. Right now it should be marked stable.
Yes.
I need you to go to afraid.
All right.
You succumb to fear as it invades your mind. When you are afraid, you temporarily lose 1 core skill point from every core skill to a minimum of 1 until you're no longer afraid. So when we roll, until we get rid of this afraid state, you're going to be at -1 skill die on all of your rolls. More importantly, I've narrated what you're tasting, but we know that this scares you. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? Or does anybody notice anything as you start to go down the steps?
I'm probably going to kind of freeze up. I'll let Charlotte's arm go if she pulls away from me, but I'm just going to like stop. And my face goes like almost like a mask, like completely still and completely frozen as she kind of retreats into this fear. And for the first time, you might even be able to hear a bit of an audible breath from her as it kind of quickens from me, as it kind of quickens in my chest a bit. But I don't think it's like a big showstopper thing. I think it's
Yep.
much internalized than it is external.
So you stop as you're going down the steps. Harry's in front of the 3 of you. The 3 of you are arm in arm. And so Elizabetha, you're kind of jolted. And Dr. Charlotte, you're the same. You're a step or 2 ahead of her, right? And then all of a sudden, Lady Rosalind stops. Harry, this is happening behind you. I don't hear anything that would cause you to
Blissfully
turn your
unaware
head.
of the whole thing. I just keep going.
You keep going down the steps. You notice something kind of tucked into, and it's easy to miss, but you didn't miss it. Something near the one of the base of the banisters on the landing. Looks to be a folded paper. Oh, I want to hear Elizabetha and Dr. Charlotte though. Lady Rosalind is a step or 2 above you, and she has just stopped, and she's standing there.
I'll turn around to Lady Rosalind and say, study her face for a moment and say, "What is wrong, Rosalind?"
I kind of almost look through you, instead of like at you. But my eyes are kind of like darting in around the space, taking in everybody who is walking past and just kind of noting their presence. I go, I had a little taste of Mr. Westbrook, and it is wrong on every level. You know me, Charlotte. I don't get like this. How do I taste myself in that bite? This one is old. Whatever is in charge is old, far older than me, Charlotte.
Oh. So we need to figure out who is in charge.
I agree. Quickly, because I can't even imagine what kind of carnage a being like this could have at a place like this.
I agree. Well, it's just gotten a lot more interesting.
That's one word for it.
Hmm.
You can probably hear her crinolines rap a little bit as she kind of trembles.
Elisabetta has still got her cloak around her, and then in a soft voice, she asks, "Would you perhaps like a snack?" Just trying to be helpful.
I would, but probably not the kind you're referring to. I'm going to go make a pit stop in my room. I'll join you all in a minute.
So yeah, you're on the 3rd floor, so you can turn here, go back up the steps to the 2nd floor, and then the stairs continue as if you do a U-turn, right? And the stairs continue up to the 3rd floor. So if it's all right with everybody, we're going to let Lady Rosalind kind of dip away for a second. Harry, there's this paper.
Yeah, I will definitely squat down and pick that up with 2 fingers, take a look at it.
It's a letter. I'll read it to you.
Okay.
At the very top, handwritten. Somewhat erratic handwriting. It just says "from hell." Under that, it says, "Mr. Lusk." SOR, soar, like the word wasn't finished. I sent you half the kidney, but there's no Y at the end. I took from one woman, preserved it for you. T'other piece I fried and ate it. Was very nice. NISE. I may send you the bloody knife, no E, and took it out if you only wait, WATE, a while, no E, longer. Signed, like written, signed. And then it says, "Catch me when you can, Mr. MISHTER, Lusk."
Now, Craig, I'm assuming this has not made the newspapers yet.
It has not.
Okay.
We are days away before Lusk, and this is meta stepping out here. We are days away before Lusk turns this over to the papers, the famous "From Hell" letter.
Right. I mean, you just the ladies who are still up on the stairs would probably just see him read this and just say, "Jesus Christ." And then stand up, kind of glance up, see the 2 of you, and say, "Where's Rosalind gone?"
She needed a bit of a powder room break.
Well, come on if you're coming, he says, and just turns around and heads for the ballroom.
What do you do with the letter?
I stick it in my pocket for the moment.
Elisabetta looks towards Dr. Charlotte, lowers her voice, and in a very, very Cockney accent says, "You really need to tell me more about Lady Rosalind."
Oh, I would
And
absolutely love to.
I pass her a small canapé.
She's gonna eat it.
Where's Emerson?
And he's been like trailing along in the shadows, like super quiet. Actually, I will tell Emerson, go to Lady Rosalind's room and make sure that she has company and not alone. Like, just follow behind her.
And how does he respond?
And then walks off.
So we see Lady Rosalind going back up the steps to go to the 2nd flight of the grand staircase. We see little Emerson tip-tapping and moving his way up behind Lady Rosalind. Lady Rosalind, I don't know. I mean, the one thing that I think we have figured out about Emerson is he somehow just seems to kind of be invisible, right? Everybody looks over him, doesn't really notice
Perception
him.
filter.
Yeah, and I feel like for you, you're so preoccupied. I'm not even sure you realize that Emerson's following you. If you're okay with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very wrapped up in my own thoughts, trying to process whatever could have made this. And I've really seen some shit, but this is kind of beyond that. So I'm just gonna, stomp onto my room, kind of wrapped up in my own, not paying any attention to anybody walking past or behind or whatever. And I'm just gonna go to my room, spit at my ladies to get out, and then go for my private reserve that I brought with me. And I'm just gonna take the bottle and plop and sit and sip on it and just kind of turn things over in my head until I feel as much of that fear leave as I can, at least where I'm not shaking and being outwardly, visibly afraid.
So, quick question. As you kind of plop yourself on the bed, you uncork your private reserve. What's your reaction when you see Emerson somehow just standing by the door inside?
I'll jump at first. I'm like, shit, Emerson. We really have to talk to Charlotte about getting you a bell or something.
What's Emerson's reaction, Charlotte? So let's cut to Charlotte, Elisabetta, and Harry coming back to the party. It's really an incredible contrast because the party's just going. And it's like a weird smash cut effect for you after everything. Like, you left this party and it was just normal as things could have been. You experienced what happened upstairs, and now you're back and everybody is dancing, and footmen are delivering food and drink, and you can see Prince Albert, Blackwood, Lord Churchill, and everybody's kind of got their little circle there in the back right part of the ballroom. And if you had not been upstairs, you would have no idea that any of this has been going on.
So I'm looking for two people as I get in the door. One of them is Blackwood, and it sounds like he's he's at the big kids table.
He is.
And the other one is Inspector Aberline.
So Aberline and his wife Emma are both in part of that conversation.
Okay.
So they're all together.
All right. So I'm gonna sort of take a deep breath, into the breach and start making my way over towards that little conversational knot.
Dr. Charlotte and Elisabetta, what are we going to do as we enter the ballroom?
Whew. I'm not sure. Don't want to interact with most of these people.
Elisabetta kind of tugs you towards one of the side tables with where there's new hors d'oeuvres and some nice platters.
Restock the snack supply.
Restock the snack supply, and I'll grab something to drink, hand it to you, look towards where Harry is going, and kind of sigh and said, well, now there's more of a Eastern European accent is coming back. I said, well, this wasn't quite what I was planning for this soiree.
So I'm going to take the drink that you passed me and take hers as well and dump them both in a plant nearby. We can't let our minds get foggy, but I also agree we should. This is interesting. Would you happen to have seen anyone that may be, I don't know, ancient?
Well, not ancient, but... And I look towards Harry walking towards Blackwood. I say, before she broke the amulet, she was emanating something, and I sense something from him as well. Different. And I nod towards Blackwood. And then I shrug. I don't.
Well, We can always go over and talk to him.
Looks like Harry's already doing that. And perhaps we should stand by for a distraction.
Oh, yes, that would be lovely. Yes.
I grab another canapé.
And as you're doing that, Elizabeth, Dr. Charlotte, somebody grabs your arm. And you turn, and there's Evelyn Ashcroft. We need to talk.
Oh. Right now.
Yes.
You will see me think for a moment. Like, and it's like an uncomfortable 20 seconds of thinking. Okay.
And Evelyn turns to you, Elizabeth, and goes, will you excuse us? As she kind of pulls Charlotte away from where she's standing towards her.
I don't know. Charlotte? And I look towards Charlotte for...
And I'm not sure as well. She is quite strange at times, but if I'm not back in, say, 10 minutes, come searching for my body.
Lady Rosalind, you are refreshed. I see you putting the cork back in the bottle. Emerson's standing there, and I think if you had never met Emerson before, it'd be pretty freaking creepy because he's covered head to toe, and you would almost think he's a statue. He's not alive. He just was still and just staring, and these goggles that he wears don't blink, right? And just has been facing you the entire time. But you've been around Dr. Charlotte Emerson enough that that doesn't rattle you. You can move your status off of afraid.
Okay, I'm not trying to like get out of the mechanics or anything.
No, I'm totally good with that. That
out
all makes sense to me. Yep. Here you are approaching the circle, and it's truly a circle. You've got Aberline and Churchill, and you've got Prince Albert, and you've got Blackwood, all facing each other in kind of this tight circle and having a conversation. Aberline's wife is kind of on the periphery, but she's within earshot. And something I don't think you noticed because he was kind of by himself before when you saw him sitting, but now that he's standing, and now he's standing next to royalty, Lord Churchill. He is the finest dressed person at this party. And to anybody walking into this room not knowing who Prince Albert is, not knowing who Churchill is, he would be identified by that person as the richest man in the room and maybe even the most important man in the room. You know otherwise. Right. I mean, within Parliament, Sir Percival Blackwood is an important person, but by no means is he considered as important or as powerful as Churchill. Right. And of course, none of them compare to Prince Albert Victor.
And he's relatively young, yes?
He is.
To all appearances.
Yep. A bit of a prodigy. He is kind of came out of nowhere on the scene, very quickly got brought in and elected to the Parliament, and has worked his way up the leadership of the Conservative Tories, and really is kind of become Churchill's right-hand man in Parliament. There's never talk of there being light between them.
Okay. Well, I'm going to very uncomfortably, and he's a big man, so this isn't particularly subtle, but you know how there's a knot of people at the party who are, and it's like, you want to try and get your way in, and you're trying to find an opening between a couple people or an opportunity that you can leap into the conversation. So Harry's sort of looking for a way to get a word into Eberline's ear.
So as that's happening, Churchill sees you, but is pretty engrossed in this conversation, and it's in a bit of a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And you being not the subtlest, Randolph goes, "Harry, can I help you?"
Yes. Sorry to trouble you, sir. I was wondering if I might have a moment, a word with Chief Inspector Aberline, if it's not too much trouble.
Oh, Freddie, are you? No, of course. Chief Inspector Frederick Aberline. He kind of puts his hand out.
Mm-hmm. I will shake it, and I
Is this
say,
a conversation we can have here, or?
I'd prefer a bit of privacy, sir. Just a few steps, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. Dear, just would you stay here, Emma? And his wife nods.
Okay.
And he moves to the side with you.
Okay. I do hate to trouble you, sir, but I wanted to let you know two things.
I'm not even sure who you are.
Oh, I beg your pardon, sir. Name's Harry Colgate. I'm no one of any great importance, I'm afraid. I used to be part of the Churchill staff here, but
you've worked with Scotland Yard. You're familiar to me.
I've been able to help with a few minor investigations. Yes, sir.
Can't place you. Anyway, please be quick.
Yes, of course. Two things I think you should need to know. One is Mr. and Mrs. Lusk both seem to have befallen unfortunate accidents this evening.
Are they okay?
They will be, I believe, but I have reason to believe that there is someone who is seeking some manner of inventions against them, possibly to do with what Mrs. Cowdray was blathering on about earlier, and I believe you might also be a potential target of this, so I'd urge you to be careful, sir.
Explain to me this. So what has happened to I saw the lady Lusk collapse here.
Yes, and
that
then
seemed to be not done by anything. They took her upstairs. What's happened?
She has since then had several injuries inflicted upon her. We're not sure who
where
did
that happen?
It seemed to have happened on the way upstairs, sir. I wasn't
way upstairs. Who witnessed this?
I believe Dr. Charlotte, who was tending to her at the time, and he'll kind of, if he sees her around, will point her out. And I believe some of the staff saw it as well, sir.
And I'm sorry. So she was alone with Dr. Charlotte, or people like
I need to understand
the witnesses, sir.
I was not there, sir, I'm afraid. All I know is that Mr. Lusk was apparently pushed down the stairs shortly after his wife sustained an injury, and I have reason to believe that it is someone who believes that those of you who are investigating the Ripper murders, or rather not investigating them by being at this party, are in some way deserving of revenge.
This is a very large leap, sir, that you're taking.
It may be, sir, but I have had my instincts proven right before, is all I can tell you.
I don't want you leaving this room. And he starts heading towards Dr. Charlotte. Doesn't say goodbye to you.
There's one more thing, sir, if I may.
Yes.
I believe this fell out of Mr. Lusk's pocket when he took his fall, and I believe you should see it.
Very well. He takes it from you, puts it in his jacket pocket.
Okay.
And he starts heading to Dr. Charlotte. Dr. Charlotte, you've been pulled to the side by Evelyn. And now that she can speak at a volume that it won't be overheard, Elizabetta is far enough away. She's not concerned about that. She says, "What did Willie say to you when you were alone? He's not well."
Oh, what's wrong with William?
His memories they're unreliable as of late. I know Mother and Father have been very concerned, have wanted the two of us to move back home in Wales, but we have to be in London, and I'm concerned about my brother, and it's not often that he leaves my sight, and I need to understand what was discussed and what he said, and so I can assess my brother's mental state right now.
Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry. We talk mostly about each of our work. In any case, do you think he said something about you because you weren't the topic of conversation at all?
What type of questions, when he was talking about your work, what sort of questions did he ask?
Now you must ask him that. It was almost along the same as kind of what you asked, but more appropriate.
She has a bit of a puzzled look on her face. Give me a quick heart check if you would.
All right. I'm gonna use my luck die.
Okay. That'll add a skill die to this roll. Look at all those hearts. That's
Yes,
2
okay.
successes. No luck, so you're down to 0 luck.
Yes.
Well, I need to ask you a bit of favor then, Dr. Charlotte. I appreciate your candor.
Mm.
If you have any signs of my brother saying things that don't make any sense, that in any way hint at his break from reality, or if he talks about things from his past that seem odd, all I ask is you tell me, because there are times where I need to take Willie and he needs to be alone, and I need him to settle, and take a bit of medicine and before I don't want him to, what's the word that his doctor said, I don't want him to spiral.
Have you considered electroshock therapy?
No, is that something that you work with?
Yes, I could.
Oh, Dr. Charlotte, that would be incredible if we could, when we get back to London, if we could connect with you.
Of course.
And she gives you, this is 2 successes. She gives you a bit of a warm squeeze on your forearm as she steps away. And there's a warmth now you're getting from Evelyn that you have not seen yet. So somehow you have charmed her a bit. And I think her perception of you is slightly altered at this point. Dr. Charlotte, I need a moment. You turn, and Inspector Aberline is right there. I have a few questions.
Of course. And I'm looking at him like, yes.
If you will, and he's kind of motioning outside to come with him outside the ballroom.
She goes.
Harry, you can see Aberline and Dr. Charlotte leaving the ballroom. Lady Rosalind, what are we doing?
As soon as I have myself kind of recomposed, I'm going to be like, all right, come on, Emerson, you don't want to be left alone here. And I'll go back down to the party, give myself a quick shaping up, check my hair before I step back in.
Ever
I'm
dutiful.
just going to look for all my friends.
Yeah, and ever dutiful Emerson is right in your shadow as you go down the 2 flights of stairs. As you get to the first floor, you start walking towards the ballroom, which is in the back of the first floor of the estate. You see Aberline, and you know who he is, and Dr. Charlotte walking out.
Ah, Dr. Charlotte. Wonderful to see you again.
Yes, Lady Hargrave. The inspector here wishes to speak with me.
Lady Rosalind, are you friends with Dr. Charlotte?
Oh, most dear friends.
I need to speak to her alone, but I would like to follow up and speak with you as well afterward, if that would be pleasing.
Well, you could speak with both of us at the same time.
I which I appreciate. I appreciate, Lady Hargrave, but I prefer to have a single conversation with Dr.
Mr.
Charlotte.
Aberline, I'm afraid that I must insist.
Heart check.
Is very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very inappropriate to be with a young lady alone.
Ooh.
I agree.
All right.
For his sake.
Do something good this time.
Well,
Of the utmost respect, my lady, this is not official, of course, that's not where this is, but in order to get a clear sense of what's been happening upstairs, I need to speak to Dr. Charlotte alone, but by all means, you can stand right outside the door. But it does need to be a private conversation, and I hope you can respect that.
Charlotte, is that okay with you?
I'll be fine. This will not be the first time I had to speak with an inspector.
Understandable.
So you actually head back to the parlor where you were before, and Lady Rosalind, as you are standing outside the door gently closes as we see Aberline and Charlotte head to the couch area, cutting back into the ballroom where I have Elizabetta and Harry.
What did you say to the inspector?
I mentioned that he might be in danger because of what had happened to Mr. and Mrs. Lusk. And I also passed him what may turn out to be a piece of evidence in these murders in Whitechapel.
Yes, but why did he take Charlotte away?
I imagine he wants to try and find out exactly what happened up there. She seemed like she was planning to have to answer those questions. I hope she planned quickly. If I may ask, where are you from? Ms. Niago, was it?
Mademoiselle Niago. I'm from a small village in the Carpathian Mountains. You wouldn't have heard of it. And it's very the Eastern European accent has gotten quite strong by now.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been in London then?
Oh, only a few years.
I have to say you've picked up some of the local language rather quickly.
Well, languages have always been one of my talents. And I haven't, well, it's only recently that, well, my other talents have, led me to be invited to such a party as this. Sometimes I pick up the accents of where I used to live. But, and I take another canopy and start eating, and I'm looking everywhere else. But
yeah, so Harry just kind of nods, and I look back up at where Blackwood is, and he says, "I think that's the one we need to worry about."
And I nod.
And as you say that, Harry, you can see Lord Churchill is working his way to where the balcony is, where the quartet is playing. This is where he's gone to make announcements. Lady Churchill also has gone up there, and it's about a half a story raised area, strictly for music and entertainment. So he's working his way up there. We cut into the parlor. Dr. Charlotte, if you will, and Aberline points to a couch that's right across from a chair where he starts to sit in.
Yeah, I'll take a seat.
So he pulls out a pad of paper, he pulls out a pencil, and he goes, just need details, if you will. So let's start with when you left the ballroom. Mr. Lusk was carrying his wife. You had several footmen with you. You went upstairs, and then...
So as she was placed on the bed, I went to check her out to see was anything else wrong with her.
When you say check her out, can you help me understand that?
Yes. Check over head wounds, if she hit herself, if she had enough to eat. Checked over her pulse. The simple medical things once someone passed out.
Professional assessment was?
Would you like to know before she woke up and hurt herself, or after?
I need to go in sequential order, if you will, Dr. Charlotte. So
she was fine. It seemed like a fainting spell.
And any sense of what caused this?
No sense, which was the odd part.
And you're now at this point, if I understand things correctly, listening to you, Lusk is in the bedroom with you. and you are assessing his wife. Are there other footmen there witnessing as well?
Mr. Lusk and the footmen were all outside the entire time.
So you're alone with her.
Yes.
Very well. So you assess. You decide she must have had some sort of fainting spell, and then nobody else is in the room, and it's just the two of you.
Yes.
She's on the bed,
Yes.
and then
Well, I went to look out the window to see if the rain has calmed down a bit. As you can see, she gestures to herself. I was out there earlier today. And that is when she sat up and start not necessarily speaking, but acting oddly, in which
I need details on that, my dear. You can't just say oddly. What does that mean? And he is writing this entire time.
That's fair. That's fair. Set up, eyes seem glaze over, and the best way I can explain this is once her eyes glazed over, I called out for Mr. Lust to go grab my companions who
Because
they've worked with and have experience with women that had breakdowns of a similar sense.
so she appeared hysterical.
Yes. And I've never seen a woman break her own wrist and then throw herself against the door.
I'm sorry. Broke her. How did she break her own wrists?
Well, that's the interesting part. One of her hand went to her right hand to left wrist, snapped it. And the next was broken when she ran herself into the door and passed out again.
He's writing furiously, and he seems to be stuttering. Like he's not quite sure what to ask.
I have not informed Mr. Lusk about it because he ran out to grab my acquaintances, and he seemed... How would you feel if I told you that your wife had a bout of hysteria and hurt herself?
Well, with all due respect, women can be a bit much. So she's collapsed. Both her wrists are broken at this point. You've called for help. I want to cut to the ballroom. Harry and Elizabetha. We see Lord Randolph Churchill go up the half-story steps to this orchestra.
I'm going to try, call it just a hunch. I'm going to try and get to a position sort of relatively under him, pretty close to where he is.
Kind of the base of the stair?
Well, I mean, at that, like under the balcony. So if he were to have like a sudden fall or something.
Okay. All right.
Not that I'm expecting anything to go weird at this party.
Elizabeth? Oh, you're muted.
You're still muted.
You're still muted. We can't hear you, Naomi.
I'm staying at the canopy table, and I've tried to, trying to avoid Harry. I feel I've said too much, and just trying to fade back into the background, and I'm looking out the door like, should I go after Charlotte? And so I think at this point in time, I'm not actually paying attention to Lord Randolph or the others. I'm just kind of trying not to be noticed and wondering, should I go out and see if I can find Charlotte?
Lady Rosalind, normal activity here in the kind of the main foyer of the estate, which is where this parlor is off of. There's activity, people coming in and out, people going up the grand staircase. We have staff working their way around. You can't hear the words inside of the parlor, but you can tell there's nothing escalated emotionally, right? So nobody's yelling. It seems to be just a normal back and forth. You can hear a muffled Dr. Charlotte speaking. You can hear a muffled Aberline speaking as well.
All right, I'm really just kind of. I was almost halfway trying to hear what excuse Dr. Charlotte was giving for this so that I could at least have some sort of backup, but not really hearing them and recognizing that this doesn't seem to be leading towards a dangerous place, leaving my companion alone with this person. So maybe not the person that I'm particularly looking for. But I am going to wait until Dr. Charlotte comes out. I'll grab a drink. Every tray that comes past me, I'll have one. And I'm just watching
So
and smelling. I'm
Yeah,
also like
smelling.
trying to keep a just a hint of that new fragrance that's been here today.
Yeah. Why don't we do a quick strange roll?
Okay.
If you want to turn those 2 luck into a success.
Yes, I am going to use that to the 2 luck into a success. Yes.
So I think because it's 2 luck, this is fleeting and omnidirectional in nature. This smell, this flavor, which you can still feel at the very back of your tongue, is in this room. And it's not Westbrook. It's less what you smelled off of Westbrook and more what you tasted when you tasted Westbrook's blood. Lord Churchill gets to the area, asks the orchestra to stop playing, and takes a flute and taps a fork against it, ding, 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 and the hush is pretty quickly. People are very respectful. Everybody gets quiet very, very quickly. He goes, guests, friends, the lady and I, and he gestures to his wife who's down in the main ballroom area. The lady and I wish to extend our apologies. This has been, we had a bit of an incident earlier this evening. I can assure you that they are fine, and it pleases us that you've returned to enjoying yourself. Now, as promised, I'm going to ask everybody to start to work their way towards the main dining area. And then he gestures to another woman who's standing relatively close to you, Harry, Madame Safina Leclerc. She is dressed simply, now nowhere near the level that somebody would wear to a party like this. She's got her hair done up tight. She looks stoic. She looks smart. There's just a smartness about her. As you're looking, he says, we're going to do a new tradition here at the All Hallows Eve Gala. Madame Safina Leclerc has graciously offered to do us a seance. And there's a like, oh, that gets the whispers, and that creates a bit of a din, and you start to see the footman open 2 grand doors to the side of the ballroom, and there's you look at the dining room, which is this wide, long room with a long table that could easily seat 20 people, and then there's chairs that have been brought in. They don't belong there, you can tell, that line the walls, and in 2 rows. So, I mean, a quick assessment for Elizabetha and Harry and Lady Rosalind in the back of the room, this could fit the entire party. The entire party could migrate to this room and everybody would have a seat. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We're going to find out what everybody thinks about what's about to happen. We'll be right back. So the ballroom is slowly, orderly, kind of funneling and emptying into this main dining room. Dr. Charlotte, Inspector Aberline stands up and says, I appreciate your details. Is there anything else that I need to know to understand what happened?
Nothing I can think of in the moment.
And if you do think of something,
I'll come right to you, Inspector.
and I would appreciate you not discussing this with anybody. I might want to have other conversations, and I don't want them tainted by your perspective.
Of course not.
Very good. He looks at his pocket watch and he goes, "It looks to be it's about the time for the madame to be doing her seance. So, if it's all right with you, I think we should head back to the ballroom."
Of course.
He opens up the door to the parlor, leading back to the foyer, and you can see that he's looking for Lady Hargrave. Does not see her, so he pauses and stutters for a second, then graciously holds the door open for you.
Also, Inspector, just so you know, you're doing fantastic work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. This has been an all-consuming case. I look forward to catching the man responsible for what's happening, to horrible things that are happening, and bringing this hopefully to a close without any more incidents.
Understandable.
So I guess the first thing I need to know for the four of you, are we headed into the dining room? What are we doing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm
Elizabeth
afraid so.
wasn't paying attention, but when she heard, Madame is going to do, she was that, and she's going to try and weasel her way into a good spot.
So it's made clear by the staff as you come in that certain people will be escorted to the table. Others are encouraged to find a seat along the walls. Lady Rosalind, when you get to the door with one of the footmen comes up and goes, "Lady Rosalind, follow me," and he offers his arm.
Wonderful, thank you. I'll take his arm.
And you are seated at the table. And you've got the prince directly across from you. There's a seat left at the head of the table. We assume that that's where Madame Leclerc will be sitting. At the head of the table, you all notice something covered in a black cloth. It is global in shape. And so I think everybody kind of titters a little bit knowing what that likely is. Yeah, you've got Prince Albert seated at the table. You got Lady Rosalind. There's a seat left open, and we can see when Aberline arrives that he is escorted to the table. Other members of Parliament, higher ups, some of the more wealthy guests are also escorted to the table. Dr. Charlotte, when you come in, you immediately notice to the right, along the wall, the twins, and William kind of raises his hand up at you to get your attention.
I look over. I'll walk over with them to them.
He stands and he gestures to the seat that's been left vacant between him and his sister. And William goes, I hope that you would sit with us.
Of course.
There's enough space kind of for Emerson to kind of stand behind you. Again, it's so odd. Like he just kind of moves, right? He just kind of is just always there. And when you look for him, you see him. But if you're not looking for him, we never quite see him.
A very well-behaved child.
He is. He's a good boy. He's a very good boy. Harry and Elizabetha, give me a sense of where you are not brought to the table. So you have free reign.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I try and get a seat on the second row, but up front, so that I'd be very close to the madame. So I'd take a seat behind, but I'd still have a good view and be at the same height as where she'd be expected to sit.
So let's have you do a luck roll. So you try to work your way up there, and it's packed. That's primo seating, right? So you've already got people, they're there seated, and as you kind of look around, the people, it's kind of like when you get on a Southwest flight, nobody makes eye contact because they don't want you to to go into their row. So nobody's really acknowledging that you're there. So there doesn't seem to be an empty seat.
Then I'll try and get another seat that I have the best possible view of where she'd be sitting and whatever's covered by the cloth. So I'm like, there's a bit of frustration. Then I look around and okay, I'll sit down there.
Harry,
I would like to get to a spot where I can ideally be relatively close to both Aberline and Blackwood. If I can kind of triangulate a position, I don't know where they are with respect to each other, but
not at the table, of course, but you want to be near them in front of you. Let's also give me a luck roll.
Oh, good! I get to roll dice. That's always fun. And I will spend my. Can you spend luck on a luck roll?
You'll get an extra die.
And I will do that thing. Cool. That was great.
Take them again.
Yeah, you go. You kind of go to another spot, and you have a similar experience as Elizabetta. It's just like, that seat would be great. It's a shame that he's sitting there, and you kind of are standing there in front.
Well, if there's a seat by Elizabetta, then maybe I will go sit by her.
There is. So let's have you kind of move next to her. Neither of you are anywhere close to where you want it to be. For those of you watching, this extra tick comes from that strange that Harry rolled on his failed luck roll. We're 5 ticks now into the doom clock.
4 of which Harry is personally responsible for.
Things kind of get to a hush as the room settles, as people find their seats. The doors close. Chandelier is gas, but it's been turned off, and staff are walking around and lighting candles. There's scones on the wall. With candelabras on them. Those are lit. So everything has enough light to see. But if you're sat against the wall on one side, you don't have clear vision of everybody that's on the other side. So it's just dim enough that you have to kind of squint your eyes a little bit and really put effort to get a clear sense of what you're looking at. The far door, opposite to the door that you came in, opens, and out comes Madame Leclerc. She's arm in arm with who appears to be her date. It's an older gentleman, heavy set, really prominent chops and bushy mustache. I'm pretty sure all of you recognize him. He's Lord Reginald Montague. He is very distinguished, former parliamentarian, maybe even a friend of Lord Churchill's father. That's the age gap we're talking about. And to see him arm in arm with her has been a little odd because there's got to be at least 30 years between the age difference. And when you've seen Leclerc during the party, she's always at his arm, is always very, very close to him. She comes in and she's wearing what she has changed clothes since being at the party. She's in all black. She's got a black veil that's covering her face. And Lord Reginald escorts her, and he sits right next to her, but not at the end of the table. He sits directly opposite from Lord Churchill. So in the second most prominent seat at the table. I ask for silence. There's some fidgeting, like chairs screeching a little bit, but then that starts to settle. There's no conversations happening. What we do tonight can be fantastic. It can also be very dangerous. So please, I ask, out of respect for everyone in this room and for those that may be entering this room, any reaction that you have, I ask for continued silence. She pulls the silk to uncover, I mean, it's the size of a large soccer ball or basketball. Glass. It's doing strange things with the candlelight. The way it takes in the light, the way it reflects the light on the table, gives almost like the way light reflects against water, kind of this flickering sheen. Please hold hands. And she extends her hand to Lord Churchill and to God, I forgot his name already. Reginald, Mr. Montague's. And she kind of, with her head, you can see everybody is now starting to link hands. Dr. Charlotte, Evelyn, and William offer their hand.
I take them.
And we now have essentially 3 rings of connected. We have everybody at the table holding hands in a ring. The first row closest to the table is in a circle now, holding hands, and then the back is holding hands as well. I ask for the doors to open. We, the living in this room, call to you to thin the veil. We call for the dead. Not a sound is made. Everybody is focused completely on LeClaire. It feels like the temperature drops a little bit, but not enough to that you're kind of wondering if it's a placebo, right? Is it just her tonality that makes it feel colder? William leans over to you, Charlotte, and he whispers in your ear, so quiet, doesn't disturb anything. Even Evelyn doesn't hear him. He says, I've seen our work. I want you to pay close attention. When you nod back to him, he leans back up. I wish to call for, and you can see Lady Churchill slide a paper to Reginald Montague. It's folded. Reginald Montague looks at it, kind of gives a quiet nod to Lady Churchill, and then slides it over to LeClaire. I call for Bethany. Bethany St. James. We the living call for you and ask for you to come and reunite and speak to your good friend, Lady Churchill. And she starts to kind of sway a little bit. Her hand is not touching the ball, but kind of motioning on the ball. And at once, everybody seated at the table gasps. And they kind of, everybody almost in unison just kind of pushes away slightly from the table, like that their hands were on the table. However they were situated, they seem like they've been startled. I need a smart check from Dr. Charlotte and a smart check from Elizabeth.
Elizabeth is looking forward and kind of not paying attention with her hands. She just had, very much paying attention. But is she? Oh yeah, one luck.
You can bank that luck if you need it.
Yeah.
Of course, Dr. Charlotte's got like 75 successes. You have 3 successes. Do you want to bank a luck or do you want to make that 4 successes?
I'm a bank of luck.
Okay. Let's talk through your 3 successes. As she starts that speech and you see the startling that seems to happen at the table, William squeezes your arm. You're looking around. I mean, William has kind of shifted your attention. He's almost made it clear to you, don't watch what they want you to see, right? That was the tonality in his speech. And so you're looking and you notice for your first success, the reaction was similar to if you're too casual as you're doing your work and you connect 2 wires and you haven't grounded it and it kind of gives you a little bit of a zap. That's the impression you get, the way that they reacted. For your second success, there's a beautiful inlay on the side of the table. This long, almost 30-foot table. And for your second success, you notice, trying to appear hidden in this inlay, a wire that kind of runs along the design, that if you weren't lurking keenly, you never would have noticed it. Even if you were right there at the table, you would notice it's tucked into this inlay pattern. You got 3 successes. For your third success, and I'm going to also use your second luck. You banked the first one. I'm going to use the second one. This reaction was coordinated a half second after Montague put his hand into his pocket. Lady Churchill, I can feel Bethany crossing the veil. She's coming. And she just makes this big gasp in and turns her head up to the ceiling. Elizabeth, I need a strange roll from you.
And I'll spend that luck that I banked.
Got it. 1 success. You are keenly watching this woman. I got the impression so far that you've been skeptical of her. Have you ever seen her work before?
I haven't seen her work, but I've heard of her, and I've seen how her career has progressed. So there's a lot of curiosity, not so much skepticism as curiosity, and it's also professional curiosity. Like, how does she do it? Is she for real or not? And what can I learn?
Mm-hmm. So you're leaning forward, I think, right? We're just all blinders are on. You are focused on this woman. If you're okay, I want you to open yourself a little bit to try to see if you can't pick up some of her energies. it's dead. There's nothing. There's no change in the atmosphere. The arms on the hair on your arms doesn't stand as she makes this big dramatic gesture. This is not making sense to you. I don't know if this is real,
And I think that just under my breath, I just whisper, "She's good." Just towards Harry, like, you know, she's, and there's just this note of admiration.
Her eyes are closed and she's got her head up and she's now got her hands out to either side of her. She goes, Bethany, I give you my eyes. I give you my mouth. Lady Churchill wants to speak to you. And she looks forward and opens her eyes, and she looks directly at Lady Churchill. Jeannie, you look well. So, Harry, this Bethany name is something you're familiar with. It was a very close friend of Lady Churchill's who died in an unfortunate accident back in Brooklyn. She spoke very fondly of this woman. They were very young, 13, 14. Her calling her Jeannie, there's a very, very short list of people who would be allowed to call her Jeannie, and almost as short a list of people who would be allowed to be in the room when that name was used. Lady Churchill's. Oh my God, Bethany, is that you? It's me, my love. You look well. Oh, and she's. Oh, I miss you. I miss you terrible. I am safe, and I am well, and I'm there with you. I was there when the boys were born, and it brings me great joy to see you so happy. And she just kind of goes back up and looks up to the ceiling, and her head comes back down. Lady Rosalind, I think Lady Churchill's near you, and she points to a little piece of folded paper in front of you, and there's a small pencil, and then you realize as you look around that everybody here at the table has this pencil and paper, and she taps on it in front of you. She goes, "You could talk to anybody."
Anybody. Interesting. I'm going to completely make up a name.
Ooh.
Just out of but Jonathan.
How do you spell that?
Fairgate. Jonathan Fairgate.
Jonathan Fairgate. You jot that down, and Lady Churchill immediately passes it to her husband. Her husband passes it to Montague. Montague opens it up and kind of looks and makes eye contact with you, Lady Rosalind, and kind of gives you a nod.
I'll give her big doe eyes.
He folds the paper and he slides it over to Leclerc. Claire takes the paper, opens it. What was the last name again?
Fairgate.
Fairgate, thank you. Close it. I need the veil to thin again. We're now looking for somebody close. Lady Hargrave wants to talk to you, Mr. Fairgate. Please come forth. You can take my eyes. You can take my mouth. Lady Hargrave wishes to speak to you. You see her kind of start to sway. And Lady Rosalind, she looks to you and she says, Mr. Fairgate is close. I'm sensing he's telling me he's connected to you. He's a brother, maybe a father, a paternal figure. Yes, definitely a paternal figure. I'm getting a sense of loss, a pain that's kind of in his chest area. Yes, definitely chest. Maybe his heart. Yes. Yeah, it was his heart. Yeah, I can tell his heart hurt. He's having trouble though coming to me. He can't. The veil is thin, but he's not crossing over completely. He says he has the answer, but he doesn't know your question. He says that you want to ask him something, and he wants to answer. It's about a question you've had in your mind, and I'm having trouble. It's blurry for me. You want to know what, Lady Hargrave? He's ready to answer.
I can't discuss it. It's too private and too painful.
He seems to understand that. He seems to want you to know. She does that gesture again, right? And she comes back down. And she looks directly at you, and she goes, in a really, really creepy, gender-swapped voice, like that comes out of her mouth. It's a man's voice. She says, "My dear, just know I forgive you." Oh, she goes back up again and comes down. She kind of collapses back into the chair. And Montague goes, "Oh, my dear, ladies and gentlemen, this takes much from her. Lord Churchill, if it's okay, I think we might need a bit of a break. Maybe if you can give us an hour, if we can go back to the ballroom. She just needs to. This takes much out of her." Lord Churchill stands up. "No, of course. And he's like astounded, and his wife is still crying. He goes, "If everybody we will have more drinks. Stevens, get the staff back out to the ballroom, please. Tell the orchestra to start playing, and let's empty the room. Let's give Miss Leclerc some air, please. Room to breathe." And William turns to you, Dr. Charlotte, and he goes, "Did you see it?
What a fascinating little liar she is."
She's brilliant."
Explain.
Come. And him and Evelyn stand, and he's kind of hoping you'll take his arm as
I will
head back. Lady Churchill reaches over to you, Lady Hargrave, and kind of squeezes your arm. She goes, "Are you okay?"
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
It's a lot. It took much out of me as well.
It's just too much. I just need a moment, and I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to gather, especially Elizabetha.
And Elizabetha, after the first one, had kind of sat back, and actually, she was popping olives from out of somewhere. There was olives, and she was, just enjoying the show. So when Lady Rosalind focuses on her, it's like, oh, okay.
So we start to empty out. The gallery is first to leave. You're being helped along by staff. Everybody at the table stays there. As Lady Rosalind, you stand. And as the room starts to empty, we then will see the table going. What is everybody doing?
As soon as I get back up with Elizabetha, I'm going to go, "She's a fake." Instantly drop. She's a fake.
Oh, she's really, really good.
Oh, she is. I mean, she is brilliant, but she is a fake.
But wow. And there's just really this tone of admiration.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, what are you doing during all of this?
I'm still probably, splitting my attention between Aberline and the Blackwood.
Mm-hmm.
Just keeping an eye on them, seeing if they're up to something or if anyone is paying weird attention to them.
Everybody kind of gets back to the ballroom. The music starts again.
Mm-hmm.
People fall back into this so easily, back
Mm-hmm.
into the dancing and the eating and the drinking, and we're approaching midnight at this point. Things are getting late. This party is notorious
Mm-hmm.
for sometimes even seeing the sun before it ends.
Yep.
Everybody kind of gets back to their little circles.
Mm-hmm.
We see Lord Churchill, the Prince. Aberline is still part of the circle. Blackwood has gone back to his chair.
Okay.
Everybody's talking, go ahead.
If at any point in that process I happen to catch Aberline's eye, I'll just kind of reach over and like pat my pocket, where he put the letter.
Oh yeah, and he looks. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and he nods.
Mm-hmm.
He nods. He acknowledges that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just probably wander around looking for suspicious activity.
Dr. Charlotte.
Before William can like whisk me away, I want to walk by Rosalind and whisper in her ear, Miss Lark, she like went down from a hysteria fit and hurt herself.
Smart girl.
So William pulls you aside. He's fine. Evelyn is there with him, and he goes, I have not figured out exactly what triggers it yet, but it's the same setup when I saw her before. I don't know how she's getting to these tables beforehand. I'm not sure exactly how she's triggering it. I think Montague is involved. But
Oh, yes, absolutely. So it seems like there's wires inside of the actual design. So it has to be a table that they prepared for this in advance. Montague may be pushing a button.
that is what I suspected as well. And you saw, and here's where I struggle is I do believe that there are true seers like her. I mean, look what she did with your friend, with Lady Hargrave. The accuracy of identifying this man and how he died and the
William.
question that broke her that way.
William Dare. Madame Lee Claire is not a true seer. She is a grifter.
But you saw the reaction from Lady Churchill and from Lady Rosalind. How is she?
When you study humans, you can easily tell what will get them going. Notice she has not said one specific thing. She let Lady Hargrave think herself into a stupor and agreement. She did not want to say any hard hitting facts.
Oh, fascinating. And you can see his wheels turning. You can almost see him replaying the seance in his head.
And just think about it. It's silly. It's entertainment. That is how she makes her income. I applaud her show-stopping ability. Is it true? Absolutely not.
Everybody's back in the ballroom again. Harry, you are keeping tabs, I think, on Aberline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Staying close there, if I understand correctly. To be seen, not to be seen, don't care.
Not particularly hiding myself, just sort of being, I'm not like staring at him, but I'm just around, and I'm trying to keep him always like in my peripheral vision.
Dr. Charlotte, the twins would love to occupy more of your time unless you want to do something else.
I want to kind of mention something to William when we sit back down so only he can hear. And it'll
Mm-hmm.
be about his invention.
Okay. So you sit and you've got a second. Evelyn's gone to go get some drinks.
Okay. I'm going to tell him, I think your invention it can do so much. Maybe one day to the point of even moving your human imprint to a different body itself.
Oh. Like instead of just casting a thought, you're a transfer of the spirit?
Yes, something similar to that. Now, of course, there's some ethical concerns of taking over someone else's body, but
I would. Oh, I assume that they're going to have the bridge, hopefully together by early this coming week. We should. Can I come to your lab? Can I bring my machine to your lab?
yes, you can.
It's like he's a 12-year-old. He becomes giddy. Just very excited. Very, very excited.
It's both ways.
All right, Elizabetha and Lady Rosalind, give me an idea of what we're doing.
I think Elisabetta is feeling a bit inspired and kind of remembering why she wanted to come here. And she's gotten to feel a camaraderie with Lady Rosalind, and she knows that she's a very influential person. And she just looks aside and she digs out of one of the pockets, another pocket in that voluminous black cloak, and takes out a pack of playing cards. And it's this very, very nice embossed package. And she looks to it and says, "That was, of course, quite invigorating, or, well, I hope not too distressing, but perhaps you would like me to read your future." And there's a kind of a twinkle in her eyes, in my eyes. It's like trying to convey, like, let's have a little fun. And at the same time, try and be seen in that way. Like, hey, here's somebody reading Lady Hargrave's future.
It actually wasn't all that distressing. I faked the whole thing, which I'm very familiar with doing. I would love to see if you could possibly divine my future. That would be lovely.
I can't promise I'll be as good as Madame Leclerc, but
Oh, yes, obviously.
she's had so much practice.
She's had practice, all right.
Yeah. So and I look around and I assume that there are, small groups of tables and where you can sit down, and I try and lead us to one that's not in full view, but I think that probably, people know why I'm here. They kind of get the vibe why I'm here, and then they can see, me in a pack of cards and Lady Rosalind heading towards the table, and I kind of lead us past groups of other women.
Yes, and I'm going to go, my dears, you just must see this. Come with me. Come with me. You must. You absolutely must see this. Come on, come along.
So we see we see Lady Rosalind drag quite the wide net, and nobody has. I mean, I have a chance to sit at the table with Lady Hargrave, of course. So an 8-seater table. You are put at the prominent front of this table. Everybody that Lady Rosalind has roped into coming also sit down, and there's attention is being drawn. In all fairness, when Lady Hargrave goes anywhere, that eyes will follow. You sit down, Isabetta, and do what?
Well, I have a very, very distinct Eastern European accent, and I very carefully take out these cards, and they're beautifully embossed, and I kind of, shuffle them very gently, and I look towards Lady Hargrave, and all my attention is on her, and I say, "Well, the Madame looked into your past. I will do my best to help us look into the future, see what the cards have to say.
Oh, the buzzing, the bustling. Like there's all kinds of tittering.
It's, of course, let us concentrate. Shuffle the cards, and it gets quiet. It starts to get very skilled shuffling. And then I stop. I put the cards down and I ask, Lady Hargrave, would you place your hand atop these cards?
Of course, my dear.
So, and think of not the past, but the future, of what may come, of what you wish, of what you fear. Back. And then I take them back. And then I lay out 4 cards.
So I've got a couple things real quick. As you're laying out those cards, I need to know whether are we tapping into something or are we doing okay. All right. So let me get a smarts roll from you real quick.
I have no luck, so
Yes.
and what luck, and
Yep, bank your luck. You, as you're laying out the cards, you see that Leclerc has come into view. She's trying not to be on top of the table, but she is trying to be somewhat inconspicuous, but is very, very focused on what's about to happen. Harry, you are assessing things. There's a little bit of gravity happening near this table where Lady Hargrave and Elizabeth are sitting. I think you're a bit surprised when Mr. Lusk comes in to the ballroom.
How's he looking?
He's got his hat back on. He's seems to have straightened himself out a little bit. As he works his way towards Lord Churchill and towards Aberline, most importantly, you see Aberline kind of peel off and starts to head towards Lusk.
Okay. I'm going to sort of keep focused on that. Again, not getting too close, but just sort of moving in that direction to sort of see what that exchange turns into.
Yeah, let's do a quick smarts roll, please.
Smarts? Why do you make me roll dice, Greg? You know better than that.
I need that doom clock to tick.
Well, I'm good at that.
Getting you to roll that makes it happen.
You were saying?
Speaking of which.
You're welcome.
I think had you been paying more attention, you may have caught it in time. But you were focused there, not outside of there, as you worked your way through it. And a crossbow bolt goes into Lusk's shoulder. And you instinctively, you see that.
I instinctively look to see where it came from.
Right. You follow the line. You can see. And the helmet has fallen off. And the arm has gone down. It's one of the suits of armor that are around this ballroom. And the head of it has fallen off. The helmet has fallen off. And it looks like the arm has dropped, and you can see the crossbow kind of dangling, almost ready to fall, but it's been sprung, and there's no arrow in it. Give me another quick smarts roll.
Okay.
You immediately now look to the other suits of armor.
Yes, I do.
And you do find another one that has, so they're all armed in some way. Some of them have swords, some of them have pole arms. You quickly find another one with a crossbow.
Okay.
But there is no bolt in it It's just being held up straight, no bolt,
Mm-hmm.
and not drawn.
Okay.
There's a scream as Lusk goes back, and he's holding this.
Mm-hmm.
A half second before that, though, Elizabeth, you're laying out your 4 cards.
And I place my hands on them, and I look up at Lady Hargrave, and I manage to just speak before the crossbow goes off, before the scream is. I say, "Well, a grand ball awaits, where silk and lace shall twirl. Beware the crimson rose, its thorns conceal treachery."
Oh, that was good. Say it really
And then I
quiet.
think that's when the scream comes.
Yes. And everybody turns their head. Everything is focused on it. And we're going to go to credits. We'll be back on the other side.
Ah, stop.
In the year of 1888, under a moonlit sky so late, Harry hunts the shadows where the monsters lie in wait. Elizabeth's crystal ball reveals the hidden truth. She sees the threads of fate in the echoes of her youth. Dr. Charlotte's mad machines, sparked by a lightning's kiss, in her lab of darkened dreams, she concocts her twisted bliss. Lady Rosalind in satin, with a mask of pure disguise, holds secrets in her gaze behind her emerald eyes. At the Churchill country estate, where the darkness whispers fate, a Halloween masquerade, where fears and masks cascade. In the Gothic halls they roam, far from Whitechapel's tomb, the hunters and the haunted, beneath the crimson moon. In the mansion's haunted halls, where the shadows come alive, the whispers of the Whitechapel murders keep the night deprived. Harry wields his silver blade in search of beasts unseen, while Elizabeth's visions dance in spectral silver sheen. Dr. Charlotte's laugh rings wide through the midnight's chilling air. Her creations stir and shudder with a manic, deadly flare. Lady Rosalind glides through with a grace that chills the bone. In the gala's eerie glow, they stand together, yet alone.
Gosh, it was nice to play so close back to back like that. Makes me happy. What I mean, we're so close to the last thing, so I don't know if I necessarily need. Well, yeah, I'm going to phrase it this way, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
What has changed since the end of episode 2? A lot's happened, but what has changed for you as a player?
I think, I mean, it's reinforced my theory that Blackwood is kind of at the heart of all this. I think the only thing that's really changed is I wasn't sure if what went on with Mrs. Lusk was like a one-off with the spirit possessing her. But now the spirit definitely, has an agenda. It appears to have a list that it's going down. So yeah, I'm that's really just kind of a clarification of what I already thought was happening.
Stars and wishes.
God, stars is hard. Everybody was just on fire today. This episode was banger after banger. I think I have to give it to Amy for when we saw Lady Rosalind's one moment of genuine fear from someone who has been entirely too cool for school with regard to literally everything happening around her. Just seeing, and not that Harry got to see it, but knowing that as dangerous as she is, there is something that scares her is a big deal.
What did we wish it for?
Oh gosh. I wish I had more unnatural skills to do, because I'm kind of the guy who's dealing in physical space at this point, and no, but genuinely I'm just wishing we get to play again sooner, because this double header was great, and I want more of this table because this is awesome.
So we've currently got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ticks on the doom clock. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more before we get to quarter past. We're in really good shape, which is good. Naomi, we got to see a little bit more of Elizabetha. So same question for you though, as a player. What, with everything that's happened, has your perspective on what's going on changed at all?
I think I'm seeing there's more of a focus on the Jack the Ripper link, so that's really got my attention now. So otherwise I don't really have any thoughts other than I'm really, really enjoying the ride.
Just stars and wishes.
Stars is I love the interaction between Charlotte and the twins, both of them, and I'm just really, and I think that plays into the wish part. I'm loving all these threads, but I'm really also looking forward to seeing where that thread goes.
Yeah, and apparently Dr. Charlotte has a vial of Evelyn's blood still.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see that combined with Lady Rosalind. Although excellent. I don't know about that
yet. Speaking of which, Amy, thoughts, stars, and wishes.
Yay! Oh man, I think that Blackwood is some sort of weird old ass vampire and is snacking off of all of these staff, but I don't know why they're in the Churchill home yet. What he's planning on doing with them. I haven't worked that out yet, but I don't know, because I haven't gotten up on Blackwood, so I can't sniff in yet.
Right.
But I'm sure that will come at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed, because that's where I think it is. But I don't know that Rosalind would think that he's that. It's just what Amy thinks.
Yep.
So we'll find out. I'm really excited. Oh, my star is going to go to you, Craig, today. This was a good one. First of all, doubleheader, awesome idea. Loved that. And I absolutely loved the spiritualist, the fake spiritualist with her dramatic gasping. Love that. That was so good. Oh man, wishes. I just want to play all the time.
Yeah, we don't have too long to wait. I think we got a week or two, and then we're going to be back. I went through a period of time where I was very invested in learning what's called cold reading. And that is a technique that's used by these charlatans that pretend to be psychic. And it's actually something really interesting for those of you watching, if you ever want to do it. There's several books on cold reading. It's a very fascinating practice. And once you read about it and then see it in action, it's amazing how naked it is. But until you kind of understand cold reading, sometimes these charlatans can be amazing and fascinating to watch. But as soon as you understand how the game works, it's like, how is anybody falling for this shit? So it was kind of fun to be able to get a chance to kind of to dip back into a previous rabbit hole I went down, probably 20, 30 years
really
ago.
Fun. Darren Brown's really good for that. Yes. To see his stuff. He's like, I'm going to tell you how I did this.
Yep.
And that's kind of what it reminds me of is that showstoppery kind of aspect to it. To where, like Dr. Charlotte said, there's nothing specific being said at all. You can just apply whatever your perception of it is to it. So I like that. I liked the crazy fake fortune teller. That is, so my star is you, Craig.
You're
It's best.
sweet.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to play forever. Just keep playing.
Last but not least, Dika, any new thoughts?
Okay, so hear me out. Maybe the spirit isn't. Somehow this spirit roped the dope itself into this party through the original couple, and it's just why specifically is only Lusk family getting attacked. Why not anyone else? Like the inspector, but that would be great for me if he goes away. So something like that. So nothing new, just more so like what level of strength are we talking about for this to have happened?
Stars and wishes.
Okay, stars. I'm gonna give it to Harry because I thought his conversations, like, kind of, it was more like the everyday conversations of being a good guy. And us, technically, we're not bad guys. We're more so gray area of him being a good guy and telling people things that they need to know, and then maybe it's taken out of context for them because I feel like he's in the weirdest of places of like, oh, I want to devolve everything because I'm also familiar with these people.
Yeah, he's in an interesting spot. That is
it's rough.
Yeah.
Like Harry a
So,
lot.
as we head towards episode 4, what are you wishing for, Dika?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I am wishing that Rosalind does a seance of her own, just takes over.
Rosalind or
the lady.
Elizabetha?
Oh, sorry, Elizabetha.
Yeah.
Elizabetha takes over the seance, like, because, Lady Sinclair, she's just so tired. She can't do it. And then we'll see, like, who wins kind of the bullshit off, but we actually have a medium.
Yeah,
Pull on
it'll
the
be
real
interesting.
stuff if you need it.
It's been fun for me because, the twins are an example, LeClaire is an example. I've been trying to create people at this party that each of you can connect with, right? That each of you have a connection with, so that we can have multiple things happening. And I'm really happy with how well you guys have engaged with all of that. And I'm glad that it appears to be interesting for you. And even though I can tell you, I have an understanding of everybody's wants and needs from an NPC standpoint. There are plans in place. There are agendas that are laid out here. I don't know what's going to happen, which is really exciting. And it's something for GMs that are watching to think about. It's very tempting, especially with something as with such strong touchstones as this game is. So it's very clear the type of tone and story that we're focusing on here, but I don't have a story, right? What I have tried to do here is say, okay, we're going to go to this mansion. We're going to blow out that bridge so nobody can go anywhere. It's going to be storming outside. And then I tried to pack this party with people who all have wants, needs, and fears. And if our 4 characters never arrived at the party, this would all play out, right? But what we've done now is we've added our players, which I always call the agents of chaos. And let's see, with them being present for each of these characters having their own wants, needs, and fears, how does that pot stir? And again, I don't know, but I am tracking and I am trying to play my characters in the same way that they're playing theirs. Having an absolute blast. Cannot wait for episode 4 coming up. If you want more of Dika and Amy, we've got Brindlewood Bay, episode 12 coming up. We're getting close to the finale of Brindlewood Bay. I'm very excited about this because I have not done this yet with Brindlewood Bay. But I've started doing the finale with another card from Brindlewood game, which is Public Access. So Public Access also has coming up, it's episode 12. We are well into the finale, the final question. And Both of these, Brindlewood Bay and the public access shows, have been great. If you want more Naomi and Brian, we also have our Trail of Cthulhu game that's going on. We're coming up to episode 10. I get to play in that game. I am having a tremendous amount of fun. I don't know what the F is going on, and that makes me really, really happy, and I cannot wait to play some more. This is a true kind of, it's the Call of Cthulhu game you always wished you could play, which is just this huge campaign, world spanning, just it's doing it. And we've got a ninja of a GM keeper that's running it for us, Brian. So I appreciate it. But you guys know the thing, like, subscribe and everything. Go check out the Ascendant board game. It's a wonderful podcast that Brian and his friends put together. And we'll see everybody soon. Take care. Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.